One of the most important things we're going to cover here today is taking ownership of who you are. What this means is not just going with the flow. It means not just going with what your family of origin might want you to do or who they want you to show up as, but it's really taking a reflective look at who you want to be as a person and becoming that person. Another way I've heard this is to basically take your power back. But before you can do that, you kind of have to know who you are as a person so that you can even explore these avenues and determine how you want to show up day to day. Once you get going, there will be moments where it feels off, but then there are going to be moments where you are so happy with yourself because you've made good decisions and decisions that make sense to you instead of going with peer pressure or going with the moment. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Rose and I run a blog called BrightEyedSmiles.com. If you're returning, thank you so much for your support. In today's video, we're going to go through some advice I wish I had in my young 20s. And this is all about how to become who you truly want to be. At this point in your life, you most likely realize that there are moments that you cannot plan for. There are events in which you don't know what's going to happen and there's no way to properly prepare for them. In other instances, there's tough conversations that need to be had and situations that come up in careers or otherwise where there's another individual involved and you don't know how they're going to react to something that you're saying. In all of these situations, it's so important to stay true to who you are. But before you can even do that, you have to decide who you are and you have to decide how you are going to show up every single day. With that being said, the first thing I would advise you to do is almost pick an aesthetic. And I know this might sound a little bit funny. I know that this is sort of like a modern term, this aesthetic. But seriously, maybe go to Pinterest or even just pull some things together on your phone that represent the way you want to feel every single day or represent how you want others to perceive you. The next thing is building out some sentences that will act as principles for yourself. And what I mean by this is list out some situations that you may find yourself in on a regular basis and put how you want to be acting in those situations. Or how you always want to show up. So for example, one of mine recently is to dress a little bit better. And this came after years of the pandemic and working from home and now going back into the office, and there is this sense of I want to present myself a certain way. Therefore, I always iron my clothes and I always make sure to pack something that not only I will feel good about, but also is a little bit nicer than, of course, what I would be wearing here at home. These little sentences will help you. Now, in some instances, perhaps you feel a bigger gap between who you currently are and who you want to be. And in those examples, you may need to be a little bit broader. Either way, you want to create your sentences based on your aesthetic. Use very descriptive words that will allow you to gain the feeling of what is behind them. Once you've done that, you want to write down some preferences. This could be things as simple as you like it to be quiet, or you like rainy weather over sunny weather. You like the East Coast versus the West Coast, and some of the other things that just illuminate your preferences that also tie into this aesthetic as well as your overall vibe as a person. The next step would be to decide on the behaviors you want to demonstrate every single day. Now, this can be a little bit difficult to do just off the top of your head. So instead, I would look to either a role model, someone that you personally know, or someone that is regularly a celebrity or something like that, someone that you admire in the world, and write some of the behaviors that you admire about them down. Perhaps it's something like Warren Buffett. I think he is one of the coolest people on earth. He's super sweet, super funny, at least he comes off that way, and he also is disciplined and takes the emotion out of investing. He's a person I would like to become more like. Therefore, I would write some of his behaviors down. The other parts of this is deciding what you are not going to do or the behaviors you're not going to exhibit. Good examples of this is maybe not drinking more than 2 glasses of wine or not going out with certain people. The important piece of this is to be aware to be aware of what's happening around you, but also to be aware of what's happening inside of you. To have a pause between what's going on in the outside world and what's going on inside you, so that you no longer are reacting to anything, you're responding to it. And making those conscious efforts to change the way you're behaving, to change the way you're responding. I would recommend that you keep your aesthetic board or your list of principles nearby so that you can refer to it throughout the day. And I would also recommend meditating on a couple of them each morning. And like I said, before you go into each new situation. And I would also recommend at the end of the day, journaling and being honest with yourself of how well you decided you did that day. To be proud of yourself when you do. It can happen. And I know I've been there where I felt like I just don't like myself anymore. I had become basically the worst version of myself. I think there's a line in a movie, one of my favorite movies, You've Got Mail, where she says, do you ever just become the worst version of yourself? And then she describes it a little bit further. But I know in those moments it can sometimes feel like you'll never be able to change who you are, or that your family of origin has imprinted on you too much. But I'm here to say that you can change. You can make a deliberate effort to change. And although it won't happen overnight, it will happen pretty quickly. Keep track of it and don't give up hope. The other part to this is if you do mess up, or even if you're 3 years into being the new person that you have always wanted to be, and you're poised and confident and well-spoken and go into every room and you're the shining star, and then there's a moment where you are less than yourself, don't beat yourself up, please don't. Is that it is sometimes helpful to have a best friend or someone, a loved one, someone close to you that can sort of give you a warning signal or just remind you of this journey that you're on. This isn't for everybody. I didn't have one of these simply because I wasn't willing at the time to get too vulnerable with someone to even let them know that I was not happy with myself, because that's really where this begins. But it can be helpful for those of you who maybe grew up close to someone or have someone near you in your life that would be helpful and not hurtful in this situation or make you feel shameful about the times that you mess up. So yes, if you decide to take this journey, I would love to know about it. I'd love to hear the success stories of those that I'm inspiring. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And of course, if you would like, please subscribe. I'll see you next time. Thank you, everyone.